Welcome back to Account Reviews, and today we're looking at an account which is hopefully similar to some of your early game accounts once you've got your first Transcendence hero. Our friend here, who is Len, you can find him in chat hopefully, he'll pop up every now and then. His account is a bit weird because what we've got here is a classic early player mistake, really common. It's basically where you get really excited that you've got a Transcendence hero and try to focus on them early. Not necessarily a good thing to do, and it has resulted in Len having a few problems. Some of them being struggling to beat Seal Land, others might be not really making progress in multiple game modes. So today we're going to be talking from a very early game perspective of what happens when you get your first Transcendence heroes, and some things to do and some things not to do. So here's Len's heroes. Let's just start off straight with that. And you can see what we do have is Eloise alongside none of her tenants at all, because everyone's a Vesa tenant. Now, I don't know if you had at some point Carry, if you had Ticks, if you had other heroes, but what you did was focus heavily on Vesa. This is a bold choice. Vesa is not necessarily a very good hero early on. We've said before, her active skill hits 4 targets. It's just random. Against larger teams in the Void Vortex, it doesn't have as much impact as it could do. It's not like Mockman or Swordflash or Vulcan or even Asmodel the Dauntless, who hits everyone with an active with a lot of power. This is spotty, inconsistent, but it's great against low amounts of enemies because these multiple hits can all focus the same target and give you way more damage than any hero could manage. So for all that her biggest strength is her biggest weakness, this is exactly that. And yeah, immediately chat's picked up on the fact she's got 464,000 attack. This is really low for someone that's a main homeowner, and looking at this you can see it's a C- skill damage, which is, it's not that bad, but it's not B by any means. So looking at the rest of things, you might think, okay, Drake, that's nice, great for killing bosses, but the debuff here from defense down, you don't actually need this to be an E5 to get this bonus. You can just have this at 9-star Len. That's pretty cool. So that's nice. Building him up to E5 though, unnecessary unless you have like someone like a Swordflash and you need Drake to stay alive, but you don't. Rogan, obviously a good pick when you have a Vesa. He's a tenant for Vesa and will support you in Seal Land, so that's okay. Flora is another tenant. Siahu is another tenant. And there's no Freya here, but I think Freya might be on your build list. But what we're looking at is an account that is leaned so into Vesa, thinking. Everyone always asks, hey, who should my first Transcendence hero be? And then the advice is Fairy Queen Vesa. But the people that answer that question never give any context. And I think that might be what's happened with Len here. Len has heard, okay, Fairy Queen Vesa is really good because she's the first Transcendence hero. I'll build my whole account around her. And what we've ended up with is probably the opposite to why people build Fairy Queen Vesa. Focusing on her as a damage dealer is great for Star Expedition, and it's great for boss fights. But everywhere else, as I've said, it's not that great. You'd actually get more benefit out of Eloise. Eloise is huge for pressuring early, and the fact you've got her is great, but we don't have any tenants for her. We can't make her a homeowner. I don't think this Waldex is doing too much on your account either. Not to say that you can't do well with this team. It's a perfectly fine lineup. It's just not going to be as impactful as, say, a team where you had Eloise as the focus. So when you tell me that the thing you're struggling with is getting further in something like Seal Land, the fact that you can't even beat the boss here on Seal Land 21, well, with a really low attack stat on Vesa, first of all, I'm not surprised. Second of all, unfortunately, if this Eloise was actually your main focus, Eloise probably could do Seal Land 21, maybe even further. She could very easily, with Tree of Origin improvements and good homeowners, she can get all the way up to Seal Land 25, and that's massive for some early accounts that you can do that without really needing a very powerful Transcendence hero at all. You don't even need one. Eloise just doesn't care. She's just herself. So that's pretty nice. I like your artifact here. You've got a splendid golden crown. We typically don't advise you to build this that fast, that early, but you know what? It's a good artifact, and I look at Vesa, and you've got yourself a splendid melodic strings. 2 really, really good artifacts, which, you know what? I got to give it to you. This is really good. Let's go look at your chests and see what other stuff we've got lying around, because you are VIP 4, so you've spent a tiny, really bit of money. Let's go see where that's ended up. Okay, you got a sublimation chest here. That's one thing we didn't check. Is there tree stuff on Vesa? I don't think there is. No, there isn't. So that's not really going to be anything there. You've got a flag chest, so that's smart that you're saving it. I don't think you need to rush a flag anytime soon. Typically, when I advise people on their first flag, I will say go with a Transcendence flag. A Transcendence flag allows you to give, when you get to a second Transcendence hero, a nice attack and HP buff to them. Obviously, the flag's going to debuff them in other game modes, but the smart thing you can do is actually go ahead and use preset lineups in the formation, and it ignores the fact your hero's wearing a flag if you use the formation, but for the sake of the Cloud Island, when they're a tenant, it still considers that the flag is on. So that's really smart. And looking at this, let's go see what your Cloud Island's like. Okay, you're making steady progress here. Don't have a lot of Celestial Island resources. That's cool. A lot of normal toolboxes. Everything else is coming up steady, but you're only level 25 on your homes. That's fair enough. No sign of a Freya coming in here yet. That's okay, but maybe she's going to be another build for you. Maybe you want to build someone like a second Rogan or even an Olivia to help you out. But it looks like you've focused Siahu here, maybe because you're using what we call tenant-led approach to building, where you're like, I'm going to build the tenants for the hero I want to use. So the question I want to throw at you, Len, before we go any further, is do you intentionally want to use Fairy Queen Vesa as your main hero, or is the reason you built her is because you thought she was the best one to focus on? So, asking Len some quick questions, I've found out that Vesa is a hero he definitely wants to be his main, which is good. Having an intent to do something that's not necessarily optimal is something I really encourage you to do. I could look at this account in a vacuum and go, oh no, you should have focused Eloise, like I did early on, which is advice to you guys at home. But now this is going to get a bit more personal for Len, because Len has said, well, look, I understand that Eloise would be a strong choice, and I understand that if I had a Tix and a carry, I'd be able to benefit from that. But I, Len, want to focus on Vesa as my main carry hero, and that's okay. So how would I advise you to move forwards? Well, the first thing we're going to need is probably Mystic Fairy Freya coming up next. So you are ages away in Crystals of Transcendence from getting your next Transcendence hero, but fortunately, when you do get to that point, you can build a Mystic Fairy Freya. She's going to support you, offering a lot of added defenses, and she's going to help you in Forest Seal Land. When you get to 3 Transcendence heroes, that's when you want to start thinking, maybe we're going to go for a Starwing Jara. Hopefully by that point you've got a Receptor for the Jara, maybe even Demon Bells to Energy Feeder. It's a long way off getting to 3 Transcendence heroes for you. But by that point, when you're running that Energy Feed with the Receptor Jara, with the good damage and pressure from Vesa and Freya, it's a fun team. Is it the most powerful? Not necessarily. There's some game modes you will absolutely struggle with, but people have managed with much less to clear Vanquisher. And Vortex Vanquisher is a pretty strong obstacle that a lot of people need to go ahead and overcome. Now, you're only an Explorer, so hopefully you can find a lineup that's going to cut through here. Some would even say you'd still need to focus Eloise, but if you are focusing Vesa as a damage dealer, I think with some good control lock from Jara, plus the Vesa for damage is fine. I used a very similar strategy myself for much of the game on the VIP series. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the best team I could have had at the time, but it's definitely a team I had a lot of fun with. Another cool thing you could do is, if you really want to make the most out of your time with a Vesa, a hero to consider building is not just a 9-star Ignis, but if you get an E5 Ignis, you can put her alongside Vesa, and she'll energy feed Vesa in boss fights, giving Vesa more active skills. This is really strong in Star Expedition, especially if you line it up with a bunch of carries, because carries die and then resurrect, and then die and resurrect over and over again, and that triggers Osis, which is a type of gear you can get in Star Expedition, which gives you benefits when heroes die. It increases your crit chance, it increases your damage, and by using that, you can go ahead and buff Vesa up and up and up and up, and then Ignis will stay alive. She will continually buff this Vesa and allow her to get even more damage. And with the melodic strings, you've got attack, you've got holy damage, and the stone here, crit attack, very nice, a big damage dealing stone as and when you need it, and that's how you can get the most out of this Fairy Queen Vesa. I like the skin, by the way. This is a great skin to have. A lot of people ask which skin's the best. Really depends. This one offers the most attack, which is really good skin. Crit damage, control immunity, pretty solid. Some people really like this one. I have in the past used this as it offers damage reduction, so on a tankier lineup this is okay. When you make it legendary, you'll notice though it only has 6% attack, which is 2% less than the other skins. So when attack actually matters, then you'll find that maybe this skin is still stronger. But I find in holistic game modes, much deeper into the game, I actually prefer the damage reduction on this. And then there's even another skin here, which a lot of you free-to-play players probably have, and this gives attack, HP, and control immunity. It's slightly more defensive than the Dance of Brocard skin, but offers less attack, although I think the crit damage in this skin just really pushes it ahead and makes it the better choice. So the fact you've got this is really cool. So Nice. And you picked it because it looked the best? We like that, man. I like that. I like that. You're like, it looked the coolest. I wanted it. I think that's also true. Definitely when it comes to me playing games that aren't idle heroes, like League of Legends, for example, I want hero skins that I think look cool. I don't necessarily want hero skins that look bad. And even in idle heroes, if I don't like the way a skin looks, I will absolutely turn it off and just take it for its passive benefits. So that's something I've been known to do in the past. And I know there's skins that are in the game that I absolutely hate. I really don't like Star Alchemist Holmes Young's skin, for example. The only reason I use it is because, well, I can actually see the animations much clearer with that skin on. So it makes a lot of sense, right? That there are some really, really interesting choices the way people play these games. And I think that's actually something we can talk about before we carry on with the account review. Everyone thinks differently when it comes to how they approach games. You don't necessarily want to be playing the most optimal strategy or the most powerful team. Some people just want to have fun, build things they think look cool, and sometimes use optimal strategies to overcome problems they're having. And I think it's cool that Lens reached out and said, hey, look, I've got a bit of a challenge for myself. I'm not trying to build this best strategy, but I do want to make the most out of a Vesa. And I'm all for that, dude. So, as we said, you're going to need to finish off your tenants. That's going to help massively. How's your campaign progress? Oh, no. This is a problem. You have not beaten campaign. What are you stuck against? What's this wave? Let's go see if I can help you out here. This might actually be very, very informative as to why you're not making much progress. Let's just go and put in... Oh, you've got... Wow! Wolf? That's bold. You went with Wolf early. Okay. Let's... you know what? I'm probably going to go with Nimian here. Lion's arguably a better pet here. But Wolf's interesting. I'll give it to you. It's an interesting damage pet. Quite good in Star Expedition, actually. Ignis has died. That's giving Eloise control immunity. A Vesa should do decent damage, and Eloise should tank, especially with a splendid golden crown. And she's Void 3, so she gets good attack backs. Oh... Okay, I've just realized what you might be struggling with here. You don't have any way to easily overcome Garuda, Sherlock, Gustin, as you've just seen. And the problem with this account right now, and I can instantly jump onto this one, you have no burst damage. Any account that has access to a Tix will not struggle with things like that, because Tix is able to burst people down really hard with his active skill, then crowd control them. Then you can use a 9-star Ignis to energy feed the Tix for a second active skill in round 2. It's huge. So for all that you've got some really powerful sustain heroes, like Waldeck with his Blood Frenzy is phenomenal. The healing you get from this and the attack, it's really, really good. But with heroes that are sustain based like Eloise and the shields and healing you get from Vesa, it's a great long-term strategy. But like I said right at the start of the video, Vesa does struggle when there's lots of opponents to fight. She just can't put that pressure down compared to someone who has big, heavy burst. So you might actually find someone that does have big, heavy burst is exactly what this account is looking for. And this is why you see a lot of people, when they use Vesa, use Starwing Jara. She hits the entire enemy team for pretty decent damage and crowd controls them, and also does more damage if they get crowd controlled as well, which is pretty good. So this is another reason why I don't like Vesa early, but if you can overcome that weakness, and I think that's what you need to try and look for. Maybe what you could build is a Russell or a Tix, probably a Tix. I would lean towards a Tix if you can. I don't know if you have any copies. Oh, I think you fed him! No, because you had a 10-star Tix. Oh, bro. Tix would be great for bursting through opponents like that. And Tix is just great. Like his attack steal in Broken Spaces, you don't just have to build because he's a tenant for Eloise. He will help you in places like Broken Spaces. So it's a shame you got rid of Tix, man. He could have been really impactful here. But yeah, I think that's one glaring weakness with your account we've just managed to pick up just from watching one single fight. It's that you don't have heavy burst. Now, this is interesting because you put melodic strings on Fairy Queen Vesa, which is typically quite good. It allows her to deal lots of damage, but when it's spotty, it's inconsistent. And, yeah, that's not so good. And maybe replace Tix with Eloise? I don't know. I think you still need a front line, right? You still need a front line. So, yeah, I think that's one bit of advice we can give you. Let's go take a look at your guild tech. Oh! Bro! This is why you can't do anything. You're not in a guild. Dude, you need to be in a guild. If you aren't in a guild... Oh my goodness, and he has been playing regularly as well. If you haven't got a guild, you don't get guild tech benefits. And without guild tech benefits, you don't get anything. Oh, man. So the main reason people get kicked out of guilds is because you're inactive or you're not helping in Star Expedition. And considering we just had Star Expedition, that might have been what happened. You probably weren't engaging with it, or maybe your guild just didn't like you anymore because you weren't doing enough damage and kicked you out. Oh, dude, that explains so much. Always watch for whether you've got a guild or not. It's so easy to miss that because not a lot of people log in on the guild stuff every single day. How's your guild coins? Yo, they're consumed. So you were recently in a guild. He was able to do this. Dude, this is a fresh kick out. Oh, dang, dude. And you were in a guild, but there were only 2, so you left. Oh, well, instant solution. Reach out to our community here. We've got guild sign-up pages on our Discord, where people are always looking for guild members. Go ahead and find someone. This community is full of great folks who can help you out, and that goes for you too if you're watching at home. If you're looking for a guild and you're not sure how to join one, you hopefully can find one in our community. It's not just limited to your server. You can join guilds from all around. That's how I found my guild, and I wouldn't be as close to Afflicted, one of the guys in my stream who's now my moderator, as I would be now. You've seen him hopefully in the ICHC. He's my guild leader. He's a crazy but lovely dude, and it's all thanks to my guild. So, yeah, you can hopefully make new friends. And I'm pretty sure a lot of Idle Heroes guild members, like, it's crazy. There are so many Discords dedicated towards each guild. And for a lot of people I know that play this game, they all say the reason they keep playing is first and foremost the community and their guild. So hopefully you can go ahead and find a guild, engage in Flame Shrine, do tons of damage with this Vesa, get on the Star Expedition leaderboards. And if you're going to be maining an account with one of the best boss fight damage dealers in the game, you better hope that you are having fun doing it, because she is going to absolutely blow your socks off in those game modes. Yes, you're going to struggle in things like 6-man fights, like campaign's going to be hard, but you need to learn to overcome that weakness by focusing on stuff that does a lot of burst damage and hits multiple opponents. If you can find all that, and if you can find the key to your problems, you should be okay. Don't forget, Mystic Fairy Freya, next Transcendence hero, or even you could jump the gun if you do find that you have a way of doing it and jump to a Starwing Jara. I think, though, it's probably best to wait until you have multiple demon bells to energy feed her. That's how we activate Jara's skills, is actually to have 12 demon bells, or even 16, to have multiple splendid, 3 or 4 splendid demon bells, and get a load of energy feed, because it lets Jara do active skills over and over again, and those active skills will CC opponents. So you might need to wait a bit before you can do that, but Mystic Fairy Freya will be really, really, really strong. And you can see already a Bendy Man reaching out to Len Fight and trying to join the guild. That's really cool. So yeah, folks, you see an account like this, you might instantly think, oh no, what's going on? But sometimes they're just playing the game differently, and that's absolutely okay. Using Vesa as a focus, all these tenets, it's a fine way to play the game. And you know what? For all I said about this Drake being not that great, you're not needing to build him at 9-star, at E5 he can live longer, he can help you against bosses and focus down and deal a ton of damage. So even though this account isn't looking to be super optimal, we were still able to help them and find that their problem was actually the guild stuff, which is funny. Nice to see that you've got a lot of stuff saved up. Not a lot of chests. Earlier you did see we didn't have that much, but that's pretty typical for a lot of these accounts when we go ahead and look at them. You still got a good pile of soul symbols, 30, so that's nice. And hopefully you have better luck and progress in the future. Let me know if you guys in the comments section have found a similar problem where you've either left your guild and seen a massive dip in power and not realized why. It's because you don't have any guild tech, or if you're doing something different. Maybe you're focusing on a hero that we don't typically recommend, or you're using a strategy that we don't recommend. Maybe it's using a Vesa. Maybe it's even using someone totally different. It could be a Transcendence hero we don't really talk about and use early. I know some of you are trying to use Vulcan as a first Transcendence hero. Very bold. Let me know how that's going. Either way, folks, I'll see you next time. And of course, happy idling.